MLB trade deadline rumors are heating up, folks, and after the blockbuster Rafael Devers deal, it just goes to show anything can happen at any time. Welcome in, folks, to Bad for Baseball, the baddest baseball podcast on the internet, presented to you by Betway. I'm your host, Nicholas Playlog, joined alongside by Adam Peddle. Today, we are doing, I don't want to say it's a way too early trade deadline kind of preview prediction type thing, because we are getting in there, but it is still early enough where we're still wondering who's buying, who's selling. We're going to be talking about that and looking at some of the big potential targets come deadline time. Before we get into it, hit that like button, smash the subscribe button, and of course, let us know, is your favorite team going to be buying and or selling and or just holding? First things first, let's flash over to the MLB standings, because that is really what, I guess, kind of decides all of this.
Yeah. Are you in or are you out? And for the longest time, the American League was kind of, I mean, they're still kind of there where, there's a lot of teams that are hovering around that 500 mark. And you can see, like, teams hovering around the 500 mark, like the Minnesota Twins, the LA Angels. That's shocking. Are you guys buying this year? Seattle Mariners, right? They're all within a game of each other. They're actually all within 2 games of the wild card. Whereas years past, you're looking at the 500 mark, it's like, I'm basically out. That is the case over in the NL, though, where you got teams like the Arizona Diamondbacks, for example, who are 1 game below 500 and 3 games back from a wild card, with still 3 teams ahead of them before we even get to the NL wild card teams that are slotted in: the San Diego Padres, the San Francisco Giants, and the Philadelphia Phillies. So, there's a lot of stuff that's got to be worked out here in the AL, but these NL teams, it is stacked. And we're going to talk about a few of these teams later on in this podcast. There's going to be some aggressive people because they have to get more people at the deadline than their opponents. They got to improve their team better than everybody else.
Yeah, for me, it's still trying to figure out exactly where some of these squads are at. Like Arizona, for instance, there's been a lot of rumblings about them, potentially being sellers. But again, they are still just 1 game below 500. And if they had, like, if Arizona had 1 hot week next week, let's say, that conversation totally changes. So that's part of the reason why it is still early on and everything like that. But you look over at the Atlanta Braves, for instance, 33 and 39 feels like they should be in a position where they should be selling. And that is what a lot of people are speculating on. One of the big pieces come trade deadline this time is Marcell Ozuna, arguably one of the best available bats at this year's trade deadline. And spoiler alert, folks, this year's trade deadline is definitely weaker, especially on the offensive side of things, than in years past.
Yeah, like, there really isn't your superstar guy. I mean, we were just talking about it. Like, imagine if the Blue Jays didn't sign Vladimir Guerrero Jr., or, that would be the headlining guy. And then even with signing him, you're not going to get Bo Bichette in the trade rumors because that Toronto's a competitive team right now. So, yeah, like, you got to take a step down and look at who are the B options. Marcell Ozuna is that guy. At 34 years old, he's got a .254 batting average. Home runs, they're still pretty good for Marcell Ozuna.
11.
He's there. It's not like he's not popping off. He's not sucking. He'll provide that slug for your team at .422 and then the OPS of .806. He's the kind of, but however, here's the thing. He's only played DH, right? And we were looking at it right before. There aren't too many good outfielders out there that are like star corner outfielders. This guy's going to slot in at your DH spot. So, if, a lot of teams might be out on him just because he doesn't have that versatility.
Yeah, there's probably going to be just a select amount of suitors that are going to be actually looking at somebody like Marcell Ozuna. Because you got to imagine, if you're a playoff squad, you probably already have somebody that you can put in your DH spot. Granted, Marcell Ozuna, that's somebody that would be in the middle of the order of anyone's lineup.
Absolutely.
As a Toronto Blue Jays fan, I would love to see the Toronto Blue Jays go out and try to make a play on somebody like a Marcell Ozuna. On the Atlanta Braves as well is, of course, Chris Sale. However, he's not on this list from MLB or on any list right now because the Braves GM came out and said that's just not happening. Double-A, like you brought up to me previous or prior to recording, is very much in the camp of I do not want to sell off pieces, and it will probably pain him so much to even begin selling off Marcell Ozuna, and he doesn't even want to go there with Chris Sale.
Yeah, but I think Double-A's got to change his mind a little bit right now because, if I am looking at the reality right here. Like, I get it. You were at one point when you won the World Series a 500 ball team midway through. I mean, hell, even when he was the GM of the Blue Jays, was a sub 500 ball team at the deadline. And then they buy and then they go on a big run. So, like, that's not in his blood. He knows he could do it. but you're 6 games below 500. You've got 4 teams, actually 7 teams ahead of you if you really count all the wildcard teams. I would be highly considering trading away Ozuna. He's old. Same with Chris Sale. He just came off a Cy Young, and if you get anything out of him, he could return some pretty big pieces at the deadline.
Yeah, and honestly, Chris Sale, like I'm surprised that he's so I guess bullish about this, because Sale's got a 4.84 ERA this year, and again, like that's somebody that won the Cy Young last year, so you got to imagine those numbers will do better. But I mean, what are we doing here, Double A? Like, come on, make this deadline interesting and sell off your goddamn pieces.
Absolutely. And then the team we brought up earlier, the Arizona Diamondbacks, that is a team that I think everybody, if you're an MLB fan, you are rooting for them to lose.
It's a swing team right now, because they have so many pieces that could be good at the deadline.
Exactly, right? Like I actually compare them a lot to the Toronto Blue Jays last year, who they had a ton of pieces. I think they traded away like 7 guys at the deadline because they were trying to compete. Didn't end up competing. Same thing with the Arizona Diamondbacks. And one of the guys that they traded for this offseason, huge bat. Shout out to our Canadian lad, Josh Naylor right here. He could be one of the better suitors at the deadline. Now that Vlad's not around, he's locked up. This guy's probably the number 1 first baseman going into the free agency.
Could be the number 1 bat, honestly. Like just
other
looking
than Tucker, of course.
Sorry, you're talking free agency. Yeah, of course, Tucker. But, just at this trade deadline, like to acquire somebody, this guy is arguably playing the best out of anybody right now. Slugging a 474, that's on crack. The OPS of 832, like the dude is doing some really good stuff right now. And he's not the only one over there on Arizona, because even like they were bringing up on the broadcast the other day, like Eugenio Suarez, he would be a really good name, and he is playing pretty good. And then you got Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly, and on top of some other bullpen pieces there too. Arizona, if they do decide to sell at the deadline, they could make things very interesting.
Yeah, they definitely could. Josh Naylor too. He's no slouch. He's also got 9 stolen bases as well,
which is shocking because he's a big lad.
He's a big lad, and he's not that tall. He's pretty thick, and he's got 9 stolen bases. I was watching him again on the broadcast last night, and he was like playing around with the pitcher, like he was waving his arms, like I always thought that, like, why don't people like do that more, especially because it's a lefty, right? Lefty on the mound, like he's looking right at him. He's just like,
wow.
But anyways, this guy's a ball player. He plays good ball, and you definitely, if you're looking for a first baseman, you're gonna want to go and get him. Now, flipping over to the pitching side of things, a player that could be going is from the Pittsburgh Pirates, not Paul Skeens. This guy, Andrew Heaney, instead could be on the move. He's been pretty good this season. 3.33 ERA, whip of 1.11. Don't look at the win-loss record. It's the Pittsburgh Pirates. But this guy, he has a very big proven track record, and now that he's having a good year, Pirates would be stupid not to sell him.
Yeah, I wanted to highlight him just because, like, he is a lefty. A lot of teams want lefties and or need lefties in their rotation, and he is doing, is having one of the best seasons out of the available arms on the market. And on top of all of that, too, a lot of teams are going to be interested in Andrew Heaney because he signed a 1-year, $6 million deal. This offseason, and like you trade from at the deadline, that's effectively you have to pay like $2 million, right? So it's like every team, Tampa Bay, like every team, even like the low budget squads can look at Andrew Heaney and convince themselves like this can be a guy that we can bring in and immediately come into the rotation. And honestly, considering he's a veteran, he's been there, he's done that. Like, he will help you down the stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. Final guy I wanted to highlight on this list, too, and this guy only gets traded if the Milwaukee Brewers continue to be the Milwaukee Brewers. And what I mean by that is not a winning ball team, because they are a winning ball team right now. What I mean is, hey, we can't afford this guy anymore. We should probably trade him now and get pieces like they've done in the past. And that guy, to me, this year is Freddie Peralta. Again, only 1 year left on the contract. It will be a free agent coming into this fall. He's having a phenomenal season. He's got 15 starts, 2.6 ERA, and a whip of 1.133. He's had years where he's up there he's actually never been up there in Cy Young votes. I'm actually very surprised. I kind of pulled that out of my ass thinking he would be. He hasn't been, but he's been a very consistent, solid pitcher. If the Brewers, because they're right there in the standings, and when you look at any other team, you're like, wow, why would these guys sell? They did it many times in the past. If they do it again, and if they really wanted to trade this guy, he would be the cream of the crop.
Yeah, no, this would immediately change things for sure, because there isn't really anybody that's got the track record and the actual ERA and innings pitch and everything like Freddie Peralta does. I mean, look, Andrew Heaney's good, but I think that we can all agree, like, I have Uber's amounts of more trust in Peralta than I do in Andrew Heaney. So obviously this guy would change things, and he would command a hefty amount of prospects, even though you'd only have him for 2 months. I just can't wrap my head around the fact that, like, Milwaukee, and I know that they've done similar stuff in the past, but they're a different team right now. It's not like they have, like, the same level of pitching depth as they had in years prior. Yeah. I find it so hard to wrap my head around the idea that they'd be willing to trade Peralta if they're half a game out of a wild card spot, which they are right now. Because by doing this, to me, that's effectively we are throwing in the towel. We're waving the white flag. Well, maybe I'm wrong about that, but that's how I view things here.
Brewer fans, let us know. Like they've been scarred in the past by it. I would be scarred too, but hopefully they, for their sake, hang on to them now. So that's effectively kind of the highlighted guys right now that could be on the move for this trade deadline. Now, there will be a few very aggressive buyers, like we kind of mentioned earlier in this podcast. You were bringing up to me some of the more aggressive ones could be the Philadelphia Phillies and as well the San Diego Padres. And I think part of the reason why is they're a very good team right now. Their records reflect it, but they do have a lot of holes in their roster, and they need to be better than that team right at the top right here listed on the monitor, Los Angeles Dodgers, and even these guys, Cubs and Mets. If they want to hit that next level, they got to be super aggressive.
Well, Phillies, like the word on the street right now is that they are going to be one of, if not the most aggressive squad, and I think it actually just makes so much sense to me because the window in Philadelphia could be closing sooner rather than later. You are talking about a team that is getting up there in age. A lot of those guys are in their 30s. They're still playing good ball, but eventually you're going to start to see the fall off, and you're going to see a team that's paying, $200 million for a bunch of guys who are 34 years old and just not performing at the level that they used to. So if you're Philadelphia right now, I think that you're looking at your record. You're saying, okay, we've done well. We do need some more bullpen help right now. This is the year that we finally have to finish this thing. We need to get Bryce Harper a ring before it's all said and done. So we have to go all in, and we got to buy effectively every bullpen piece and every pitching arm that we can get at the deadline.
Yeah, because that's always been their Achilles heel, right? They had it when they had a big run a couple of years ago. Their bullpen was manageable. And that's a nice way to put it. It was manageable, but now it's starting to fall off a little bit. So if they can fix that, get Bryce Harper healthy, they need to get Nola back too, because that's a big part of their rotation. And they were on that losing streak, but immediately they flip a switch and they're right back.
Yeah, that's look, we did a podcast on Philly a couple weeks ago, and the whole conversation was, should we be really worried? And I was saying, look, it's Philly. I think that they will be fine, and we are seeing that right now. They are still number one, I believe, in the wild card spot. They are 7-3 in their last 10, so they're right back to what they should have been doing the whole time. Anyways, honestly, they had that get right series against Toronto, and now they're all the way back.
And
so.
The Cubs, they got back home and they handled the Cubs. They handled Toronto. They won 5 of 6 in that stretch, and there they go. There's the fighting Phillies yet again. And speaking of the Phillies, if you want to bet on them right now, because their odds kind of lowered a little bit when they went on that little losing streak. If you want to bet on the Phillies to win the World Series, well, then download Betway. Hit your picks and knock it out of the park with Betway. Scan the QR code on the screen or click the details click the link in the details to join the action. Only available in Ontario. Must be 19 years or older. The odds for them to win a World Series is 13 times your money, which when you look at the standings, there's the Dodgers, there's the Mets and whatnot. But I really do think the team that comes out of the NL is going to be the favorite to win the World Series. Depends, I guess, on who the team is. But if you get those top dogs, especially the Phillies, they can just get through the NL, get through the Dodgers, get through all, the Mets. And they get to the World Series, I think they got a fighting chance.
Yeah, of course, right? Like, it's a gauntlet over there in the National League. Granted, I mean, if they're matching up against the Detroit Tigers, I truly believe in Detroit this year, so I certainly wouldn't put anything past them. But if you can make it through the Dodgers, the Mets, the Padres, all those guys, make it to that World Series, having beat at least 2 of them, yeah, of course, you are going to be battle-tested and ready to win the whole damn thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, you let us know your thoughts in the comments down below about the whole trade deadline. Is anybody that we missed that we should highlight? Please let us know down below.
Yeah, hit that like button, smash the subscribe button. We will catch you next time. Cheers.